Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I was halfway through a late dinner when my phone buzzed. A new notification. Nora Lyle has posted a photo. Normally, I ignored those. My wife loved broadcasting every industry dinner, every award, every champagne glass held at just the right angle. But this one made me pause. It wasn't a group shot. It wasn't even her standing at a podium. I tapped it. There she was in a sapphire gown, smiling brighter than I'd seen in months. Beside her, down on one knee, was Adrian Locke, her operations manager, the guy I had cut the first payroll check for 3 years ago. In his hand was a ring. The caption read, "He asked." I said yes. Here's to forever. My fork clattered against the plate. We had eaten breakfast together that morning. She had kissed me goodbye, distracted but routine, and told me she'd be home late. And now, according to Instagram, she was someone else's fiancé. For a full minute, I just stared, every system in my head trying and failing to process the input. Then training took over. The part of me that had spent a decade in cybersecurity, mapping threats and building responses. Screenshots. Capture the post, the caption, the comments, the likes. Evidence first, reaction later. My thumbs moved fast, steady. I opened the comment box under her glowing announcement and typed one clean line. "Congrats, just tagging our divorce attorney." I hit send. Within seconds, the words sat under her picture like a landmine. Then I forwarded the screenshots to Gerard and Lucille, her parents, with a single sentence. "I imagine this is news to you as well. I'm sorry." I set the phone down on the table, my heart pounding but my head clear. The post was live, the comment visible. There was no undoing what she had broadcast to the world. The first move had been made. Within minutes, my phone lit up with her name. I let it ring out. Then came the texts. "Call me right now. Delete your comment. You're humiliating me. This is about the business, not you. Not our marriage, not us, the business." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new note on my phone and titled it Timeline. Every call, every message, every document would go in there. Evidence stacks up best when you don't rely on memory. Then, 15 minutes after I'd posted the comment, the original post vanished from her feed. Deleted in a scramble, no doubt. But I didn't delete anything. My screenshots were backed up twice before she even realized her mistake. She must have still been at the gala when her phone started buzzing. I had a little window of silence, and I used it. I pulled my laptop closer and opened the folder I hadn't touched in years. Northlight Collective. Legal. Inside was the operating agreement I had insisted on when I put $140,000 into her dream. I remembered how annoyed she had been about the lawyers back then, saying I didn't trust her. Maybe I didn't trust blind optimism, but now, at 2 in the morning, I was grateful for every clause. 65% ownership to me, 35% to her. Capital contribution returned before any distributions. Intellectual property, including branding, websites, and social media handles, is held by the company. It was all there in black and white. Before the next call came through, I drafted a short email, no emotion in it at all. Subject: confirmation required. "Nora, please confirm our marital status for the records. Kyle." Cold, factual, impossible to misinterpret. Her response was instant. An angry call this time, not a reply. I let it buzz out. Evidence captured. Then I opened my banking app and locked down every shared card. Fraud alerts activated, notifications forwarded to my work email. If she tried to run charges through the business account, I'd see them in real time. The night had started with a plate of pasta and a phone notification. It was ending with me quietly fortifying the walls. Tomorrow, the real storm would begin. It was past midnight when the intercom buzzed. I was sitting on the couch with the lights off when her voice cut through the speaker. "Kyle, open the door." She was still in the sapphire gown from the photo, hair pinned in curls. I watched her on the camera feed pacing on the porch, heels clicking against the concrete. I didn't move. "Kyle, don't do this," she snapped into the intercom. "This is my home too." I kept my voice calm. "The deed's under my name. Tonight, it's not your house." Her jaw tightened. "You're blowing this out of proportion. That post wasn't supposed to go public yet. You've embarrassed me." "You announced an engagement," I said, "while married. To your employee." She pressed her hand against the scanner. Nothing. She tried her code. Rejected. The little red light flashed and chirped. I watched her face harden as the realization hit. "You changed the locks on me?" Her voice cracked between fury and panic. "I protected what's mine," I answered. "It's called preparation. You should understand that." Her tone turned sharp, vicious. "You think you can play this cold? You've humiliated me in front of everyone. People will think you're insane." "They'll think what the screenshots show them," I said. "And those are already backed up." She stood there silent for a beat, eyes darting like she was working out her next move. Then she hissed through the intercom. "You'll regret this. I promise you will." She turned on her heel and stalked back to her car. The house fell quiet, but the silence felt different, like the moment before a storm hits land. By mid-morning, the alert started coming through. First, it was a $3,200 charge at a jewelry boutique in Midtown. Then, a $6,000 reservation deposit at a resort in the Maldives, both tied to the business account. I sat at my desk with the fraud department on one line and my attorney, Aria Menon, on the other. "Freeze every card linked to Northlight," I told the bank rep. "Flag them all. This isn't a mistake. It's deliberate." Aria's voice was calm, clipped. "Document the charges. Screenshot the alerts. This will help us prove financial misconduct." Another ping hit my phone before I even hung up. A declined charge, $9,800 from a luxury furniture vendor. She was burning through every option she had access to. I wasn't angry anymore, just focused. Each move she made was another piece of evidence. That afternoon, my phone rang again. It wasn't Nora. It was Celine Ward, one of Northlight's oldest clients. She didn't waste time with small talk. "Kyle, I need clarity," she said. "Adrian just called me. He says he's the new operations lead at something called Lumen Atelier. He asked me to transfer my contract over today. Is that legitimate?" My stomach went cold. "No, Celine. That's not legitimate. Give me 48 hours and I'll send you documentation. Please don't sign anything." "I thought so," she said, voice sharp. "He sounded rehearsed." I don't like rehearsed. When the call ended, I logged into our CRM system. Dozens of exports had been made over the last 48 hours, entire client lists downloaded and sent to external drives. Lumen Atelier wasn't just a name. It was a fully planned escape route. They weren't trying to leave quietly. They were trying to strip the company down to its skeleton and walk off with the flesh. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. Nora and Adrian weren't improvising. They had been preparing this for months. The engagement photo wasn't a mistake. It was the announcement of a takeover. And they had just fired their opening shot. The first thing I noticed was Northlight's Instagram account. My name was gone from the bio, scrubbed clean like I'd never existed. Every old photo where I'd been tagged, deleted. A new pinned post at the top read, "Nora Lyle, visionary founder of Northlight Collective." I tried logging in. Password denied. She had locked me out. I opened the shared drive we had used since the beginning, digging through folders she probably forgot existed. After an hour of sifting, I found it, an old spreadsheet labeled Brand Access. Inside were the original logins for every platform, all tied to a generic email I still controlled. My heart kicked once. I tested the Instagram login. Success. I immediately changed the password, updated the recovery email, and added two-factor authentication linked to my personal phone. Within minutes, I had admin control again. Nora must have noticed right away because my phone lit up with her name. I let it ring, then a text came through. "You're out of your mind. Give me back the accounts. They belong to me." I called her instead, putting the phone on speaker so the recording app could capture it. "They belong to Northlight," I said. "The LLC owns all intellectual property. You signed that agreement." Her voice rose. "You're obsessed with paperwork. This is about my reputation, my image. You were always deadweight, and now you're trying to drag me down." I stayed measured. "The court will decide who's dragging who." She hung up with a hiss of breath. I sat there in the dim light of my office, typed up a short factual post for Instagram. Northlight Collective operations are under legal review. All existing contracts remain valid. Further updates will follow. No accusations, no anger, just dates and facts. Then I called 3 of our top vendors. 2 sounded cautious but agreed to hold steady. The third admitted Nora had already reached out, painting me as controlling. Every move she made told me the same thing. She was fighting a war of perception. I was fighting a war of evidence. And evidence wins in court. 2 weeks later, we were standing in a county courtroom, facing each other across polished oak tables. Nora wore a tailored cream suit. Adrian sat behind her with crossed arms, and her lawyer did most of the talking. I didn't look at Nora once. My eyes stayed on the judge and on my attorney, Arya Menon. Her voice was steady, practiced. Your Honor, we are presenting documentation of unauthorized client list exports, fraudulent charges on corporate accounts, and attempted rebranding under a separate entity, Lumen Atelier. The operating agreement, signed by both parties, is explicit. Intellectual property and contracts belong to Northlight Collective, LLC. She slid a folder forward. Inside were screenshots of bank alerts, client testimonies, and the CRM export logs. All time-stamped. All neat. Nora's lawyer tried to spin it. This is a marital dispute being dragged into business. The accounts, the lists, they're joint marital property. My client built this company with her vision. She should not be punished for trying to preserve her livelihood. The judge leaned back, unimpressed. Preserve is not the word to use for attempting to transfer assets under a new business name. Nora shifted in her seat, lips pressed thin. By the end of the hearing, the judge granted a temporary restraining order. Nora and Adrian were barred from using Northlight's client lists, intellectual property, or branding without joint approval. Any further attempts would be contempt of court. As we walked out of the courtroom, Gerard, her father, caught up with me. His expression was weary, voice heavy. Kyle, this display isn't helping anyone. Can't you two settle quietly? Keep it private? I stopped in the hallway, meeting his eyes. Your daughter announced an engagement to her employee while married to me. Quiet isn't on the table anymore. He sighed, looking older than I remembered. Don't ruin her, son. She's doing that without my help, I said, and turned toward the exit. By that afternoon, the restraining order was filed. Vendors who had been on the fence suddenly steadied. Clients who had been stalling returned my calls. For the first time since that engagement photo, the ground under me stopped sliding. But I knew she wasn't finished. The restraining order gave me breathing room, but breathing room wasn't growth. I could hold the line forever and still bleed out if I didn't rebuild. Northlight needed leadership on the creative side, something I had never pretended to offer. I understood contracts, networks, and strategy, but the brand had lived on Nora's flair. Without her, we had a hollow shell. That's when I reached out to Marisol Vega, a senior planner at a rival firm called Solstice Affairs. I'd seen her work on 3 separate events over the years: clean execution, smart logistics, zero ego. I called her on a Wednesday morning. Marisol, it's Kyle Barrett. I want you to consider something bigger, not just a job, a stake. There was a pause on the line. You're offering me Nora's role? I'm offering you more, I said. Co-director, equity, a say in decisions, and a future. I can run the business, but I need someone who can deliver the vision. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, I'll meet you, but I'm not signing on to a sinking ship. We met at a quiet cafe the next day. I laid out the structure: new branding, Ironwood Affairs, ownership split, guaranteed salary, plus equity after 1 year. She read everything line by line. By the end, she extended her hand across the table. I'll do it. We rebranded in less than a month. Ironwood Affairs launched with a lean team and a cautious vendor list. But the smear campaign hit fast. 2 caterers refused to work with us, citing conflicts of loyalty. Adrian had been making calls, spreading his own version of the story. The first big test came from Celine Ward, the client who had warned me earlier. She called one afternoon, blunt as always. I've got a civic fundraiser. 500 guests, 6 weeks out. Can Ironwood handle it? I glanced at Marisol across the office. She nodded once. Yes, I told Celine. We'll deliver. The weeks that followed were relentless. Late nights, missed meals, troubleshooting disasters. But on the night of the fundraiser, the lights came up on a flawless event. Applause filled the hall. That was the night Ironwood stopped being a gamble. It became real. The divorce was finalized 10 months after that first Instagram post. By then, the war had drained both of us. Nora's lawyer fought to frame Northlight as marital property, but the operating agreement held. The judge upheld every clause. My initial capital was repaid first. Her share, after debts and adjustments, amounted to less than she expected, barely enough to cover her legal bills. She left with a small payout for her minority stake. Adrian didn't even bother showing up to the last hearing. From what I heard, Lumen Atelier collapsed before it signed a single lasting contract. Clients didn't trust them, vendors refused to risk it, and the engagement that started it all ended quietly a few months later. One evening, Gerard called me. His voice was tired, stripped of its earlier demands. "She's living with her sister now, out of the city. It's not how we imagined it." I didn't respond with cruelty, just silence. Meanwhile, Ironwood was thriving. After the fundraiser, we landed 3 mid-sized corporate accounts, then a feature in Metropolitan Living, a regional lifestyle magazine. The piece called Ironwood, a resilient newcomer redefining luxury. The cover photo showed Marisol and the team in our new office. The same Instagram account Nora once tried to erase me from, scrubbing the tags, rewriting the bio, now carried Ironwood's name, 15,000 followers strong. One night, I sat at my desk, scrolling through old folders. I found the screenshots, Nora in her gown, Adrian kneeling, the caption that had detonated everything. For a long moment, I stared at them, remembering the shock, the cold strategy that followed. Then I hit delete. The story had already ended. The evidence had done its job. Marisol leaned in my office doorway that same night. "Cellini's foundation wants to lock in a multi-year contract," she said. "Greenlight it," I replied. The chapter that began with "I said yes" ended here, with me deciding who to say yes to. Thank you for watching.